Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're looking for a quick and snappy video how to weather a truck and create a scene, please check out video number 50. This video is a paint along / weather along. So sit back and relax, get your vehicle, get your equipment, and we'll paint and weather together. I'll provide a lot of extra information and instructions along the way, and maybe put in some dry humor here and there. Let's get started. The first thing we need to address is the elephant in the room is this little truck. It looks absolutely not nice. It's shiny plastic and it could use a little bit of rust as well. And you want everything in your scene to be more or less to the same standard. So I really weathered this boxcar and it has some lumber in it already. We're going to use this. For now we're going to address this truck, and then later on we're going to look at these people off to the workbench with the truck. So here we are at the workbench, and this is the truck that we're talking about. It's already fallen apart in my hands. Also, the chrome grille that was on the front just fell off. And as you can see, it's not really put together that well. And for this weathering, I want to actually do all the parts separately, and there's conveniently a screw at the bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do is to open it up, unscrew it, and see which parts we have. There we go. So the chassis is separate, which is great because I want to add some rust to it and make it a little bit less shiny. Also going to see if I can dull these wheels down a little bit. See what we can do with that. We have the nose and this part. I don't want to do too much detailing on this. I might add a little bit of rust here and there. This is a work truck, so it will be a bit rusty, probably. And this is the cab. So I also don't want to do too much on this. See if I can pop this out. Yeah, there it is, just like that. In the story I'm going to tell, I don't want a figure in here, so this is fine. I'm just going to leave it. I might paint it a bit. Yeah, let me see. You do see it when it's inside, so I might paint it a little bit. Thinking just to, I don't know if I have green. If I have green, just paint the bench green, because it will fit nicely with this piece. And if not, I'll paint it black. And then I want to take the glass out, because I don't want to get the glass all dirty and dusty. As later on, I'm going to spray everything with a dull coat. You don't want your glass to get a dull coat. Careful not to break anything. So the screwdriver is pushing on the top of the glass where there's no window, so I'm not afraid to scratch it when I try to remove it like this. Oh, there we go. I think. Yeah, there it is. Okay, that's good. Okay, good. So I also have somewhere here a pack of wing mirrors. I only need one because this model only had one. So that will be great. And on the other side, there's no hole. Let's start with the first pressing issue. How are we going to make this plastic shiny flatbed look more realistic? Well, I have a trick for that. I'm going to repaint it. I'll show you that in a minute. The top has a nice grain in it, so that will look nicely. The bottom has as well. You're not going to see it, but I'm going to paint it as well, so that's going to look nice. But the front and back of this headboard don't have any grain in it. And this side actually has a logo on it, so I'm not going to do anything with this. I don't want to repaint it. I don't want to re-stencil it or anything like that. So I'm just going to weather this later with some grays to make it look a little bit less shiny and just to weather it. Then the back, I think I'll just paint it. And we might add some texture with the paint itself. And you're not really going to see it. Well, I mean, you will see it a bit from behind the cab. So it's just is what it is. I don't think it's going to look that bad though. Let's start with this. Let's get this stuff out of the way. So the trick I want to show you, I saw it on YouTube by another fellow modeler. I have no idea who it was or what his name is, so if you're out there, please do a shout out so I can give the proper credentials. We're going to first paint it with yellow, yes, yellow, and then with brown, and that will give a very nice look, texture, and effect. If you don't believe me, well, just keep watching and you'll see when we're finished. So there we are. So I just had to change the light a bit because it was just getting a bit too bright. So how are we going to start off? We're not going to start off with brown. We're going to start off with this yellow. Just put a little bit here on the paint tray. Something like that. Don't forget to shake the paint. And then, like I said, I'm going to paint everything except this headboard right here. Hope I can do that well. Don't want to tape it off because I think then I might take take the Lumber Pacific off of it as well. That's the whole thing we're trying to save, so not going to do that. Let me just start here at the bottom. There we go. Don't be shy, don't be afraid. Now I want to paint it with the wood grain. And you see the brush itself is also leaving some texture in it. That will be great for the headboard. I don't want to put on too much of this yellow. And we have an edge like this. You never really want to be painting in this direction because you'll see there's going to be a lot of paint build up at the edge. So you always want to be painting towards the edge. So that's starting to look okay. It does need to dry a bit. So let me just do the edges. Do as much as I can without getting paint all over the place. So, and actually, because it has these stubs at the bottom, let me just put it down. I think that will go well. Okay, this brush is not going to cut it. So let me get something finer. Normally don't really use this one for painting because it's so nice to weather with. But as I have a really sharp edge here and I want to get it nice and sharp and crisp, I'm going to use it. I have no idea if this is how you're supposed to use that brush, but don't really care because it works. Brush back. So remember, this does not have to be perfect. We're trying to emulate wood, and not every plank has the same coloration. So if we miss a spot here, it's fine. If it's a bit more yellow over there, it's all fine. And secondly, we're going to weather this as well afterwards. So then you could, if you really have some imperfections, you can get that out with the weathering. So now on to the last bit. It's dry. Is it dry? It's dry-ish. Let me just hold it carefully and do this headboard. I want to streak in this direction because if this would be made out of planks, it would be. I will put the planks in the length direction. Just going to take extra care around the edges because, like I said, the front we're not really going to touch that. So I don't want to create any harsh lines or spills with my paint because then that's just not going to look very nice. So I'm just going to dab it, take it easy. Don't use too much paint, take your time. So that's supposed to look wood grainy. Let's do the back a bit more. Okay, great. Now let's just leave that to dry. The next coat will be the brown as discussed. So now let's have a look at all the other parts. The wing mirror, I'm not going to do anything on the wing mirror. I'm not really going to do anything on that, I think. Just some light weathering. Let's put that aside. So let's have a look. Then the chassis. I don't think we're going to be seeing much of the chassis when it's done. We might see the back. And there's an exhaust detail here, so I want to paint that silver or gray. I want to look at these wheels. That's not look very nice. Let me do that next, actually. And then it's just these chassis parts. I want to add a little bit of rust here and there. Not too much, just a little bit where you would expect it. Maybe here around the edges and the bottom, and along the wheel arch as well, step board. And I think that would be it. Yeah, it looks nice already, actually. And we'll cover it with a little bit of rusty color, grime in the weathering phase later on. But first, now we're going to do some detailing. And then here, last but not least, is this chrome part. It seems to be a bit rough, so I might touch it up with a knife to make it a little bit sharper. And it's too shiny for my taste, so we're going to also weather this in the last weathering phase, and then it'll be a little bit less shiny. So onto the rust detailing. So for the rust detailing, I have my chalks. I want to take this fairly new rust color and some of this old rust color. And I'm going to get a wet brush. This is my one of my detailing brushes because it's nice and sharp. I'm going to make it wet. Get a little bit of chalk on there, the rust color that you want. Just brush it off if you have too much, and just detail a little bit on the bottom. Oh, that were the cab parts. So what we've used now is this very bright orange for a more new rusty color. I'm going to do almost everything again, but with this darker brown. We'll give it, that brown will give it a little bit more settled look. So as you see, I also put some rust on the wheels and the tires. The tires, we're gonna weather that with some dirt color, so that's gonna change. At least the worst shine is off the wheels now. And here you see a close-up of the rust on the rims, which actually turned out quite nice. It's even better in camera than it is in real life for some reason. Guess everything is better on camera. So we're just gonna leave that for now. What I'm gonna do, these also have rust on it already, very, very minimal, just to summarize, very minimal. The last step before we go to the weathering, I'm going to paint this cab. I'll do the steering wheel. I think I'll do that, maybe even in a silver, and yeah, see, it's a bit small. The steering wheel, I'm just gonna paint it, I think all black, and then the seat, because I don't have anything green other than a spray can, but that's not gonna work. So I'm just gonna paint it in another shade of brown. I think this is a good, nice leather brown color that the bench could have been back in the day. It definitely wasn't this gray color. So let me do that. See, this is the finest brush I have right now, so it's just have to do. Dab it in the paint, just see how much is on there, and then let's get painting. So I'm basically doing two different types of strokes. First, I'm just squishing paint on there in every direction, shape, form that I can get the paint on it. And then second one, and for the second one, I'm doing the strokes in an upward direction. I think that's how they would be on this seat. I'm just gonna let this dry for a bit and then do another coat. And I got a little paint on the steering wheel. That's fine. Let me just clean that off as good as I can. And I'm gonna paint steering wheel anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it has some brown on it right now. So here we are again. Now let's go back to the flatbed because it looks absolutely terrible like this. So I want to get a brown. I got a burnt umber. I think we all have that, or we should have that. Here we go. Just going to paint it over like that in streaking motion with the grain, no chew. And you really want to make sure you paint over every little bit that's yellow, because yellow is not the look we're going for. And then secondly, once you got it all painted, you want to make sure it's more or less even. I mean, planks of wood are not all even. Some are darker than others, but you do want to make sure the biggest paint blobs are out of there. So what am I doing in the back? Well, I already did the top, but I forgot to record it because you need to turn the camera on if you want to record something. And I was smart enough not to turn it on. So you get to see the backside. So you got to see me painting the bottom. I'm going to leave this plank a bit more strokey. I'm not going to... Now, this board here, the headboard, I'm going to leave these strokes and these brushes because remember, there was absolutely no texture on it. So I'm going to create the texture with the paint. Let me just dab the top here. I think we're going to be done for now. Same time, let me just show you the top. Just see how that looks. So much depth in that wood. Well, it's not even wood, it's just plastic. Somehow. Now I'm just going to leave this to dry for a bit. Try not to touch it. Maybe dabble some spots that are a bit yellowish still. Especially the ones in the areas that you're going to be looking at. No, I think it's all good. I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to touch it. So what are we going to do now? Just a second coat on this bench. So again here, I'm going to stroke in an upward motion. Because sometimes these couches had, what was it, pleats? I don't even know what I call it. But let's say creases in them, in the leather, where they would make sew the pieces of leather together. That would be in a vertical direction. So there we go. I'm just going to also not touch this. Just clean the steering wheel real quickly because somehow managed to touch that with the brown. Okay, that's done. That looks better already. That just looks amazing. Let's put it down. Close all the paint. So while everything dries, I'm going to assemble these parts because I'm going to weather them. And then I'm going to spray can them with a matte coat. But I don't want to spray can the glass, so I'm going to leave it out. For now, we'll put that back later. I'll see you in a bit. So here it's all assembled. What we're going to do now is some weathering. This is my earth tone, earth color that I'm going to use. And I'm going to dust it up with some gray because if your car is dirty, it's just this gray, dusty grime that's on it. So let's just get started straight ahead. I'm going to dive in with the dust first. I'm just itching to get this cab a little bit dustier. Still too shiny and too nice and too new. Now you see these effects are very subtle and that's good. You don't really want to do too much. 10 times the subtle effect is a very nice realistic effect. But 1 or 2 times something very obvious is just going to stand out like a sore thumb. And don't forget we're going to give this guy a matte spray coating. That will really take away a lot of the colors. Don't want to say all, but a lot. So I think that has really helped with the creative. So that really helped to make it a bit dirtier. Just make it a truck that's been used. Yeah, looks good. Looks great. Yeah, some earth colors on there. That would all be in the bottom area, so around here. Really want to get those wheels and the chassis. Now I don't have the grill on there, so I'm gonna have to see if that's gonna stick out a bit too much once everything is coated and done. I might have to do a final pass with some weathering as I'm doing now, or if it's gonna be a nice effect to have a bit of a shiny grill. I think the first one, to be honest, but let's see. Let's see what happens. So once you're done with, happy with the colors, so I think that's actually quite nice. Dull down a bit. Still some. See if I can pick this up. So I think that's quite nice. It's really dulled down a bit. It's difficult to see on camera. See, maybe in the green you can see it. And it has some detailing, a little bit of rust here and there. Not really put together well yet. I'll tighten the screw later on, but first we got to put remember the cab and the glass back in. I think this will give some texture. Some more dust over there behind the wheels, some rust here in the middle, a little bit of rust there. I think this will work out nicely. Not that much rust on this side. Yeah, it's good. I think I'm going to give it a dull coat now. So then next time when you see it, it's going to be coated. And then we can assemble it, put a quick wash on it. And then we're going to finish the flatbed. But this does not have to be coated, so I'm just going to do that later on. So I'll see you in a bit. So I'm back. Now I'm a bit more confident to touch it because everything is sealed in a bit more. As you can see, the dust, a little bit of rust, a little bit of grime, just to take the shininess and the edge off it a bit. So, the rust on the wheels came out quite well, if I do say so myself. So the next steps, I'm going to take it apart again. Then I'm going to assemble everything, the cab, the chrome on the front. And I still need to paint the exhaust, so I'll do that now as well. Along the entire way. I don't think we're really going to see that. Maybe only the end tip right there, but that's fine. Let's get all the details in there, and then this car is done. And we're going to need to weather this flatbed as well. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to get this makeup brush, and I'm going to get let me see, a bit of a medium grayish color. And I'm going to streak on it. And you really want to dip it in there a bit. I'm just going to add some streaks. Just like that, just to dull down and give a little bit of texture. I'm going to do it here and there, not everywhere. Streak it out a lot. Just to dull down this wood a bit, because it just looks like paint right now, and needs to be a bit flatter and have some different color variations and tones in there. So that's basically what we're doing now. I'll actually take a lighter gray even. So this is what we had. I'm going to use an even lighter one. Say it's almost like an ash gray. Just apply it to some spots, but evenly. Just smidge it a bit with my finger. Then we have dark gray, yes, even black. Because remember, this is a flatbed, so it will be used for all different types of boxes and goods. I mean, primarily wood because it's a lumber company, but still, it can have some stains in it from other products that they've been transporting. That was a bit dark. So, I think, I don't know if you can see it. Camera has a hard time focusing on this flatbed for some reason. So I don't know if you can see it, but it looks a bit, yeah, it's just a bit more texture, a bit some variation into it. You see the bottom, it's just, it has the wood look, but it's just very brown and consistent. So here we added some different variety and textures to it. One thing I wanted to try is to get like a really dark stain somewhere on one side. So if there was some oily product or something that has leaked onto the flatbed, so let me try that. Might just ruin the whole thing, but you know, don't try, don't know. Something like that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that looks, yeah. I think I'm gonna leave it. And don't forget this side as well. You will see that a little bit, especially the top. The sides will stick out of the cab. I do want to give it a little bit of a same working that we're doing. A little bit of gray edge there. Let me do this. Don't forget the top here as well. Just especially that lighter gray just flattens everything a bit and makes it look like a piece of wood that's been sitting in the sun for a while, opposed to a piece of plastic that's painted to look like wood. Now we're getting to that stage where it's difficult to hold stuff. It's always tricky. So you see the end is still shiny because I didn't want to paint over the lumber logo. I'm just really debating which color to put over this. I think I'm just going to go for a light gray like this. I can always go a bit darker or lighter if we need to. Just see if I can hold it like this, just so that it blends in with the rest of the truck. So right now it's just sticking out like a shiny piece of plastic. So I'm going to try to get that on there. Actually looks okay, but there's too much white accumulated here at the bottom. So let's see if I can somehow get that out of here. Yeah. I want to leave it like this. It's still a bit shiny for my tastes, but yeah, it's nothing really we can do about that. I mean, the logo is nice to have on it right there, so I think I'm just going to leave it like that. Give a little bit of contrast between this flatness and the logo there. It's not a bad thing. So let me clean these weathering powders up, put them away. We're not going to use these anymore. So like I said earlier, now it's time to assemble the truck. Let's do that. Get the glass in there and everything else. So that was that. I'm just going to leave it. There we go. That looks like an exhaust system. At least one that I know from the current year. So, look at that. That looks amazing, doesn't it? A little bit of rust there. Seems to fit somehow. So I'm just cleaning up this grill a little bit. Doesn't need a lot of cleanup. There's not much we can do actually. So let's make sure it fits a little bit better. Oh yeah, that's somehow a bit better. It's such a bit of a cheap, wonky model to be honest, but let's make the best of it. That's what we do in the hobby. So well, that's gonna look nice. It's a bit shiny. Cheap, wonky model. Yeah, that looks nice. From a distance, it's not that shiny. Blends in well. Maybe I might put a little bit of rust on it like we did on the wheels. So the wheels actually turned out quite nice, I think. I think the grill could use a little bit of rust like that. It is on the front. Some stones might bash into it. Let's see how far we get. First, let me also glue them on first, because the model doesn't fit that tight, and because I've noticed this glue actually eats the plastic away and sometimes messes a bit with the paint. I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to use the El Cheapo big can of wood glue. And because we need almost nothing, I'll just put one drop on here. Just like that. See if we can keep that on there. And we have two parts. So we have the grill and we have the mirror. I'm going to do the mirror first. Let's put that on there. So what you do is just dip it a minute bit in this glue. It just needs to stick. Nothing more, nothing less. And then wiggle that back in the hole. Great. That went far better than expected. I'm not going to touch that. And then for the grill, I'm just going to get a toothpick. Splash it around here in this area. Not too much because you might see it. not too little because you don't really know how the two pieces fit on each other. So it does need to fill the cavity if needed. There we go. Here's the grill. 1, 2, bloop, just like that. It really doesn't fit well at all. Now I'm just going to not touch it. That's, again, the most difficult part. And put this away before I get glue everywhere. Then I'm going to do the same with the flatbed. I'm just going to take a bit more glue because you're not really going to see it. And it's a big part. Just want it to stick on well. Oh, that is a lot. Also on the inside. Doesn't matter. Not going to any proto meetings anytime soon where people are going to turn this truck upside down and see what the bottom looks like. But if they do, then they'll see a really nice exhaust system in the period correct colors. So, yeah. Maybe I should have test fitted that first. Shit. So, that's how it should be. Now we're not going to touch it. We're really going to leave it to dry for quite some time. So here we're back. The car is now completely dry. All the parts are on. The grill is on. I mean, you can still see here it's not really a very nice quality model. There's a massive gap here, so I'm gonna have to think what I'm gonna do with that. This side is a little bit better. And the flatbed is glued onto it. Great. Just gonna do a quick wash on the cab just to accentuate all these lines here. Probably should have done that before I put the flatbed on. And after that, we're gonna add the little figurines, and then we're done. For the wash, I'm just gonna take this black. It's very black. As you see, you have to be quite quick with rubbing it all off because paint dries really quick. Also with the alcohol, doesn't help, I guess. Look at that difference. Wow, that's one side, super sharp, and that's the side without. Big difference. You want to work quite quickly because the alcohol with the water dries quite quick, and if you don't rub it all off in time, you're just basically painting your model black, which is not what we want. So that's that. That is that. Wow. Clean the window a bit more. Just gonna put some black on the grill as well. See if I can just dull that down a little bit. Get a little bit more texture and detail in there. Because in the end, it is a grill. There's just bars, and behind the grill is a radiator. So the entire grill should not be chrome. Look at that. That looks dynamite, doesn't it? That's as good as it's gonna get for this little model. So looking at the truck, this side just looks a bit better than the other side, mostly because of that plastic is not really molded well. So I'm gonna put it on the scene on the diorama like this. Now we have our little guys here, and the question is which ones are we going to use? This one is sitting a bit to the left, and it looks like he could actually sit without his feet touching the ground. These guys are supposed to be sitting on a bench. Let me see. He's looking to the left. The other left. His left. My right. So he might be good because then they can be talking to each other. Yeah, that looks great. Look at that. Some deep conversation about the deeper meaning of lumber. So now let's see some props. This guy has a jacket or something. Well, I don't want to use that. And here we have a bag or a satchel or whatever it was called back in the day. I'm going to use that. So that's his. And this is the other guy's. His lunch is in there. So you don't want to forget it because he's going to be angry. You don't want, the last thing you want is angry figurines. So I'm going to use these two. They're in discussion. I'm only going to use two because there's a cab only for two people. So I can use more, but then we're going to need some kind of extra car or something like that because where are these guys going to come from? So how are we going to glue these figurines? Well, you've guessed it. I'm going to use this same super cheap white glue that I have. So now everything is painted, done, dusted, weathered, and everything. We're going to create part of the scene with these two guys. Oh, there he goes. I'm just going to call them Burger and Bob. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to place them at the end of the truck. You don't want to place them in the middle. You always want to keep like 1/3 rule. So you don't want the stuff in the middle. You don't want to this edge here that's going to distract from what's happening here with the cab. So I want them basically a bit towards the end, like that. I do want them on the side. I don't want them at the end. Somehow that doesn't seem logic. You'll be sitting at the end. And then we have these two satchels. I'm going to glue that on there as well. Let's see if I can get them stand up straight. Probably will. This one can lay down. Okay, let's see. Let me get some tweezers. And I already got a blob of glue on the side. So what are we going to do? Which one are we going to start with? Do want them to sit a little bit further off each other. Because these little guys, they need some space. I'm going to put them there. So you see, I just put a little dot of glue on his bum right there. And let's hope it's going to stick all at once. Let gravity take hold of him. And you just don't want to touch it too much. That's the general rule of thumb. Well, here we go again for this guy. Same story, a little bit of glue. How am I going to hold this? Not like this. Let's use my hands. What am I messing around with? So look at that. Twist them a little bit. So we're talking to each other. Yeah. Look at that. Let me just move them over a tiny bit. Yeah, like that. Great. And then for the satchel, I'm actually going to do it the other way around. I'm just going to put a little dot of glue on the truck where I want it. And I'll put a satchel on top of it. This one is, see it, this one's not going to stand up. It's too small for that. So I'll just lay it down flat. The other one will stand up. At least we'll try to get it to stand up. So here we go. Just a tiny, tiny bit of glue. And let me put that big satchel over here. Another thing I like with this white glue is that you have quite some time to get stuff in place. It doesn't dry up that fast. Let me just put that there. Well, actually, I'm going to put it like this because you probably throw it on there with the handle facing you. So, put it on an angle. So you see how important the details can be. The devil is all in the details. And maybe no one will ever see it, but that's fine. You know it's there. And if someone ever asks you about it, you can tell a whole nice story of every little, minute little important or not so important detail that you put in, even a small scene, just like this. So I put a bigger dot of glue for this satchel because it does need to stay upright, and I don't think it will by itself. So it might need a little bit of encouragement from some glue. And don't worry, you're not going to see that when it's dry. So, put that to the front a bit. Let me turn it a little bit. don't think he would put the satchel down like that. I know him. I know Bob. He's not a set your satchel straight type of guy. He always puts it under a little angle. That's that. Look at that. That's amazing, guys. So now we're just gonna look at that. All we gotta do now is let that dry. I just want to have a quick look at the layout itself, see if we can spruce that up a little bit with some weathering and some chalks, and then we're set to go. So what's the story? The initial thought was that these two guys arrive in the morning, open the boxcar just to check the manifest, and having a quick coffee or snack before they start offloading. But that doesn't make any sense at all, because this is a lumber truck from a lumber mill, and a lumber mill would produce lumber, and so it should be unloaded into the boxcar. So the story is, these two guys just finished packing up this boxcar and are now just having a break for lunch. So as that's the new story, we need to add some lumber here on the truck, because it would be too much of a coincidence that they had just the right amount of spare lumber for these planks here in between. So we're just going to add some extra. So here we are. This is the final shot where you see all the results. Doesn't that just look amazing? This was just a small project, but a lot of these small projects add up to a great layout. If you want to see more videos just like this, don't forget to subscribe and like. See you next time.